Something about a good pair of skates you always look back on with a good smile. And I feel like this is one of those skates where I'll always look back and have a good memory of. If you don't know, I used to skate the Nimh V2 from about 2008 all the way up until it became SSM through 2012 or whatever. I've skated this particular skin countless amounts of times. If anything, we can learn a lot from this skate, and I just want to go over a few of the things that I noticed after looking back on it. Number one, as many of you know, if you never skated this skate, it was very similar to a Razor Colt. But the biggest difference was it had a way better sole plate system, and it had a way better cuff than what they were using at the current time. Now, the Colt had kind of not been around for a little bit. They had used like a Genesis, they had used an SL. So I had actually, in between the V1s and skating these, I had tried the Aragon SLs. And I'll never forget, I took them up to Connecticut, and initially I thought they were like a really good cheater skate because you can really do any chopside tricks you want in an SL, which is probably even true today. I think it's still around, or it's a shift or a Swift or a thing. But besides the fact, we were skating that Heaven ledge, and I'll never forget, I just went and royaled out of it, and I felt the bottom of my boots like kind of give in, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, like, you know, maybe I broke my wheel or whatever. And then remember I tried it again and I felt it again, and here, the whole bottom of the boot completely cracked. I think the only time that ever happened to me with a boot before then was like the UFS thrones, but my friend had actually threw them in the air on me. Thanks, Rudy. Other than that, I never had like the bottom of the shell like completely snap up until that point. I remember I brought them back to the shop, Neglected Truth, and I was like, hey, like, yeah, I broke these, the typical Alf mantra of, hey, I think I broke these within the warranty time. I think I was going to get a pair, but then I ended up be able to buy a pair of these, and decided to just buy a pair of these. And just looking back at these and seeing how crazy good the quality is, and just like everything about how different the leather is on every different part of it, or the pleather. Just little details that you can't really see in a plastic skate, but man. The biggest difference between the V1 and the V2s, I would say, is the real detailed on all the leather right here. If you really look closely, even to today's standards, I think this is probably one of the best skins in terms of skin skates that we may have ever had, because even down to the triple stitching of different colors, and the padding is like embossed and kind of risen, and the leather is all different. It's real pebbly and awesome feeling. And I remember like looking at these and like, yo, they just look really sick, especially on footage, like a nice tight little black booty kind of thing. And in that time, the skin skates were like kind of ugly looking, besides the Eric Baileys for the most part. The Baileys were really sick looking because they kind of looked like a Vans at the time. And then like Rollerblade was like on the tail end of doing New Jacks or A7s, and I was riding the A7s when they were them big white things, so they were like really kind of bulky looking. And this is a size 9, and that was another benefit of the skate, because of the skin on it, they were basically a Colt, but you'd be able to cut the toe off. So for Bigfoot like me, Sasquatch foot, I could actually fit into a size 9 because you could fit a liner in there and have so much wiggle room right here that even to today's standards, I think the only thing we had close to that was a shadow, in terms of like you have your own foot and this whole thing is open to where your toes can kind of go out, because even most skates today, your toes are really restricted. Except for the Dems, you're kind of wide open now in the Dems. But up until that point, and even to now, I think there's no skate that has been with the toe cut like that, to where you can actually skate these to the death and still be able to skate these. Because even now that I think about it, I've obviously hit my toes, like the rare occurrences, and had like really black, like lost a couple toenails kind of deal. But for the most part, this little sole piece right here really protected you and like gave you that little out to where you really wouldn't die on it. For me personally, I was always a Razor Colt guy growing up. That was like the skate that, you know, I had like Dirks, chocolates, and then I was pretty much Razors for the early 2000s. I loved Razors. Trying these on the second time, I really enjoyed this one a lot better. And then even more so when they switched the sole plate around the bitter cold of that year. They had switched from the V1 to the V2 sole plate, and it was just a world of a difference. And I'll put a picture of that one. And this is actually the V2 after a while. As you can see, I completely cooked it. I'll show you the wide angle outside pictures. But this sole plate, I would say to this day, other than closer to the Mesmer and maybe the angled soles, might be the best like stock sole plate we've ever had. The backslide groove was absolutely perfect for torques. It was absolutely perfect for front farbs. It was absolutely perfect for backslides. It was lined, you could just see it's just lined up perfectly, especially with a create frame. And I skated these with creates, I skated these with Formula Ones, multiple different feather lights. So a bunch of different frames, but just to always go back, like after a while you would obviously chip the sole plate and this thing would happen where you would have a little walkie-talkie action. But man, amazing sole plates. And the inevitable will happen to your skin, you're missing grinds, you're sloppy like me, and it eventually rip off. But the best part about it was, and this is the high key #1 underrated thing about it, like, you know, you get a new pair of skates, you would have that break-in period, you know, gotta skate around for a little bit, get the boot feeling good. Well, we would get a box in and we would take our old shells that we had broken and skated for the longest time, take all the brand new parts that we had and just put them onto a well broken in sole, but with a well sturdy sole plate, brand new liner. And then, well, actually at the time I think we were using the same liners, because the Vicious V2 liner up until that point was probably one of the better stock liners that we ever had in skating. It had a furry top, which was really nice on your like ankles and your socks. They would sweat a little bit, but for the most part, that liner lasted a lot longer than most liners at the point. And it was just a good liner where it fit pretty good in every other skate, and it worked. It worked really well to what we had at the time. And I think at that point it was like random USD liners. I think Trust, it come around, maybe the bigger liner was there, but like the second one didn't come until like a few years later. So this was, in my eyes, the best liner at the point. But I'm babbling about that. So, you know, you put your new liner into your old skate with your old booties, but into a brand new, whole new look. So you would have a brand new skate, but a completely broken in foot. And that was such an advantage, I felt like, because if you're like me and just kind of hate breaking your skates in, it's like you just kind of want the skate to feel like it just did. This is one of those things where you can really take advantage of it. I know they never would have done it, but I think it would have been smart in a way where they would have just released just the skins and like kind of like educated everybody to just take their old shells and kind of put into the new skin. Because imagine like marketing, say at the time it was like $60 to $70, so you could sell just like a brand new skin and label it as like, you know, reskin your skates for $75, and you can have a whole new skate with the same exact feeling. And then obviously you would have to buy new sole plates or everything, but it would sure beat like having to spend $250 or $300 for a brand new skate, when in reality all you need is a new boot and a new sole plate, maybe a new liner too. Well, nowadays it's arguable nowadays you don't need a liner with every skate, because with the Intuitions I've had the same liner for about 6 or 7 pairs of skates at this point now. I mean, I'm no businessman, I don't really know anything about the prices or anything, but who knows what they could have done. I feel like marketing just this and this as like a 1-2 combo punch, instead of like having to try to sell a pair of skates every single time, where people don't generally need every single part of the skate, they just want the freshest part. And being able to offer that, I feel like would have just been like something different and something new. And I know they're like piecing stuff apart and doing it more so nowadays, but like, I don't know, maybe even could have done like limited runs where you're doing only 50 pairs of skins and in certain sizes, and you know could have made like a rush to where it was special to get one of these, whereas though like instead of having to make 1,000 pairs of skates and having to sell every single skates, you can make 50 pairs of skins and 50 pairs of sole plates, call it a day. Obviously Nimh became SSM after a certain amount of point. They're a little falling out as Nimh, and then it became SSM, which I always thought sounded like CCM a lot when I first heard it. I actually thought the name was a joke when I first heard it, but then he said Shima Skate Manufacturing, so it made sense. Shima's easily one of the GOATs, and this is easily one of the GOAT skates, so like how really can't you go wrong with that? Believe in the GOAT. The Nimh skate, the whole platform that started it all, I think this was arguably one of the best skates that we ever had. It's probably, looking back, probably my favorite skate that I had over my time in skating, in terms of like I knew what I was getting into and I knew how it felt every time I put my foot on, and arguably I probably did some of my best skating in it. Just very fond memories of going a lot of places with these skates. I really enjoyed them. For sole plate, it was a 10 out of 10 sole plate. It had a slightly higher cuff than normal cuffs. New stuff, especially the thems, are way lower, and I actually like that better, and some people may not. It just fit really nicely because it was basically a cold shell with an open toe. I can't imagine how good it would probably be even with Intuitions today. And yeah, just a great looking black skate that always looked good with everything, and this was my go-to from the mid-2000s to early 2010s, the Nimh V2. So I did a review on the Nimh V1. Here's my review on the Nimh V2. 10 out of 10. Arguably one of the best skates of all time. Arguably the landmark for when I review skates. I always put this one as like my favorite. If you haven't skated this, you're probably missing out at the time because they were really fantastic. It's a Colt with a better sole plate and a better cuff. How can you really go wrong? And to top it off, you could put laces on the inside too, and it just, my goodness, did it make it way better. It was just little tidbits about the skate were just so good. Kind of miss it. I feel like it would be different though. It's like with anything. Like I remember I went back to Solomon's and I hated them. I feel like going back to skating these now, I probably enjoy it, but I feel like I'm just so used to everything else that come afterwards. Even like when I went back and tried to skate Colts, they just didn't feel the same. And also I had to skate a size 10, so they were slightly different from what I was used to because I always rode like a 9 Colt shell, and the 10, even when I got Colts again before, they just didn't feel the same. And maybe the Razors changed their product or how they make the plastic or anything, but it didn't have the same feeling that this had. So the Nimh V2, if you ever have a chance to check them out, get a pair, put them on your shelf. They made the skate in white, which is incredible as well. The liners were, at the time, the best liner I've ever had. Probably still one of the best stock liners we had. But overall, if you ever got to skate these, put your comments to show me your setup. Tell me how many different sole plates you went through, because I went probably through every single one. If you enjoyed this classic review of a skate that I was very fond of, please comment below. Tell me if this was your favorite skate. Maybe tell me what was your favorite skate that you've ever skated. Be on the lookout. I'm doing a review on the Faction wheels. I just got those in the mail. So they're currently going on my normal skates, and I'm going to skate them. Be on the lookout for that in the next couple weeks. And until then, thank you for watching.